Oh, Arsenal fans, this is a huge weekend, you know. Sometimes a weekend just stands out for many reasons, whether it be the particular fixtures we've got or because of potential consequences on a title race. This weekend is both those things. Let me talk you through it. We've got Tottenham versus Man United at 12:30. Does it impact us? Not massively. It's probably it's too early in the season to say too much about kind of who's competing, here, where and everywhere. But these are two rivals. We'll tune into that 12:30 kickoff in the UK, followed by Sunderland versus Arsenal at 5:30. If we get our jobs done and we can enjoy that, we'll definitely be enjoying Man City versus Liverpool, knowing one of our expected title rivals will be dropping points. We hope both. That's what we'll talk about in this video a little bit more. We're going to look at Arsenal Sunderland from a tactical perspective. We're going to look at Man City Liverpool and discuss who we want to win and discuss how big a weekend this could potentially be. Let's just remind you of the table. Arsenal sit on 25 points at the top, with City and Liverpool facing each other and Sunderland, our opponents, in fourth. How often do the top four play each other on a Premier League weekend? It feels like a very rare occasion, and here we're definitely going to be, I like that we're playing our game first, so then we get to enjoy what happens after, if we get the win. But it's just a huge weekend that could have, like I said, massive consequences later down the line in the title race. But before we focus on City Liverpool, because we're definitely going to talk about it in more detail, we've got to focus on doing our jobs first. Now, Arsenal have had injuries to deal with this season. I think it's easy after draws and defeats for us to talk about referees or injuries. So let's do it from what is the best position I've ever seen Arsenal in my supporting life. This is Arsenal's injuries, if you include pre-season, for the 25-26 campaign. And you've got the full list there. Kepa, the goalkeeper, Saliba, White and Capia, Timber and Calafiori have all had injuries, whether it be in pre-season or during the season at some point, disrupting their preparation in some way, shape, form, or disrupting their availability for this current campaign. Norgard and Ødegaard, the only two midfielders to have had some sort of problem, although Declan Rice has come off with the odd knock or injury here and there. Saka, Martinelli, Madueke, Gyökeres, Jesus and Havertz have all been out, with only Saka available currently for this game against Sunderland on the weekend. So as much as Arsenal are doing a brilliant job, as much as we have a massive squad, do not underestimate the impact that having that many injuries can have for disruption and what Arteta's having to deal with. Credit to him, credit for the team for just coming through it. Now, what is Arsenal's likely 11 for the game? And what do I want to see? Because I think there's a few ways Arsenal could play with this a little bit differently. Now, what I've got here is Sunderland's 11 on the left, here on the JLA tactics board. And we've got Arsenal's 11 from their win against Slavia Prague. So just to confirm, that's Sunderland's last game in the Premier League and Arsenal's last game in the Champions League too. Now, as we can see, Marino's leading the line. Let's be honest, we'd rather that's Gyökeres, but fair play Marino on 2 goals the other night. And Norgard in the 6th. We would rather that's Zubimendi. So let's make the changes we expect to see. I do expect Norgard to come out, and I expect Zubimendi to come in. I expect Waneri to come out, and I expect Eze to come in. And we've got them in more of a 4-3-3. Let's just quickly, in fact, let's move this whole Sunderland team back a little bit, and let's move this Arsenal team up the pitch. We expect them to look something like this. Boom. Rice, Zubimendi double pivot. Timber gets forward. Okay. And actually, sorry, my bad. Take Nkapia out. We're probably going to see Calafiori. So expecting the Arsenal 11 to look something like this. Trossard might float inside. Calafiori, cool. That is Arsenal's sort of shape for these kind of games. Now, I'm really interested. He won't do this. I know he won't do this. Marino will lead the line after the 2 goals he scored the other night. He absolutely fundamentally deserves it. Please don't think... I'm not saying he shouldn't. But I would love to see whether he'd ever be willing to do this. Take Marino out. Put Trossard in the false 9. Get Waneri back in that 10 position. And get Eze off the left. I would love to see whether he'd ever do this, because I think having these players, Waneri, Trossard, Eze, Saka, all floating in these pockets for Sunderland, I personally think it could yield some great football. It's something I'd want to see. But he's not going to do it because Ethan Waneri has been struggling for a little bit of form. Eze isn't at his very best. And Marino scored 2 goals the other night. So fundamentally, while it's something I'd love to see, I wouldn't be voting for it because, like I mentioned, this guy is scoring goals. What we hope to see with Sunderland playing a back 5 is that they really drop back. It was a similar system to what Prague played, We hope they drop into this kind of shape. Isidore trying to, press. And we just hope that they're able to find some pockets. And the way we did that the other day, as we mentioned in a video on the channel, was actually by getting Timber tucking in a little bit, Calafiori tucking in, Gabriel at centre back, Rice moving up, and Saliba stepping into midfield. It'd probably look more something like that, to give us central access in a different way and confuse the press and marking of those players for Slavia Prague in the same system. Do I think we're going to see that in this game? No, I don't think Saliba will step into midfield massively. No, I don't think Trossard will start in the false nine. It will be Saliba playing the usual role. It'll be Calafiori overlapping, giving us something different. It'll be Merino up front. And to be honest, it should be. Let me show you this data for Mikel Merino. His FBref data in the last 365 days compared to strikers, not midfielders, strikers in Europe's top 5 leagues. And as you can see, at 0.22 per 90, he's got one of the best goals per shot set of numbers, sitting in the 86th percentile, and he's also up there for goals per shot on target. It's an incredibly, efficient, that is the word. He's an incredibly efficient goal scorer, because as you can see, goals and shots in total, shots on target are quite low, but he is someone who's able to, he's able to generate a lot from very, very little. And when I look at his performance the other night, did he do that much in terms of build-up, in terms of bringing players into the game? Not really, but he did a lot in terms of, just when he got the chance, putting it in the back of the net. And, working hard and just sort of keeping things moving, but ultimately being on the end of the hardest bit, the hardest bit in football, the end of the move, the end of the bit in the final third, putting the ball in the back of the net. And if Mikel Merino keeps doing that, he'll keep his place, whether Gyökeres comes back ready to go or not. I know Gyökeres was finding form, but Merino, if he keeps scoring at the rate that he is when he's getting starts and getting opportunities, I think it just becomes even harder to leave him out the team. Still think Gyökeres is a better striker. I still think Gyökeres is the guy long-term for the season. Even when Havertz and Jesus return, we know Jesus is close to a return. But Mikel Merino, if he plays really well, I think there's a good chance he actually starts post-international break. But let's see. Let's learn a little bit about Sunderland, because their results, as you can see here, are good. I mean, there's some standouts like winning at Chelsea in a 2-1 win. They won at Nottingham Forest. They destroyed West Ham on the opening day. But Sunderland are interesting because when I've watched them, I thought they did really well with 10 men against Villa. Got a 1-1 there. Fought back from 1-0 down with 10 men. Very spirited team. Lots of energy in their side. Obviously, Granit Xhaka is playing brilliantly for them. But what's really interesting about Sunderland is that if you actually look at their team, they rotate quite heavily. Whether it be a back 5 to back 4, as you can see with all these different 11s. But also, if you look quite closely at some of the players, Hugh might be playing right back, then left back, or right wing back, then left wing back. Someone like Mukiele might be in the back 3, then be a full back. Ballard might be right of the back 3, then centre of the back 3. They're constantly, I think Mandava too, Masuaku comes in, going from a back 4 to a back 5. They do mix things up a lot, and I'm really interested to see whether that actually might be something that through the season causes them a little bit of inconsistency. I think flexibility and versatility is brilliant. We've praised Arsenal for their versatility, but Arsenal might be able to come up against a Sunderland side here who, are terrific, are difficult to beat. I think will really get stuck into us, but might not fully know the finer details of every particular movement, because they're interchanging between different systems and different players in those systems, crucially, week to week. That might be a weakness that Arsenal could exploit. So that's really all I've got to say on Sunderland, Arsenal, should I say, because we are travelling up north for the game. Who do we want to win between City and Liverpool? Because that's the other really, really big game from the weekend that we can just sink our teeth into if we get the 3 points on the weekend. Now, I want to show you 4 11s, 2 of them Man City's, 2 of them Liverpool's. Let's start with Man City. What we've got here is Liverpool and City's last Premier League defeats and the 11s they went for in that, and quite literally their last wins, which were in Europe against Dortmund and Real Madrid, both at home. And you can just see, in my opinion, right there to the naked eye, a massive difference in the balance that these teams are coming with. And that's where I'm starting to get a little bit worried about these two building up steam as the season goes on. When they lost to Villa, City went with Reinders in the 6 with Bernardo Silva and Foden either side. Really lightweight, no natural 6 in there. Really, really strange approach to the game from Pep Guardiola. But when he brings in the balance, Nico Gonzalez as the 6 with Reinders more as an 8 and Foden there floating, I just think you've got a much better balance to that team. That's the same with O'Reilly coming at left back. He seems to be doing a better job of that at the moment. And then you go to the Liverpool 11s too. Against Brentford, you could see Szoboszlai and Jones at the base with Wirtz in the 10. Feels very imbalanced. Kerkez isn't up to speed, but they beat Liverpool with Robertson coming in. They then got Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai as a midfield 3 with Wirtz floating off the left. They've even played it with Gakpo on the weekend when they got a win against Villa too. My biggest fear is not that Klopp and Guardiola suddenly become brilliant coaches and remember how to do it again, because they've always remembered how. That's always... The ideas won't largely change through the season from them. It will be getting the 11s right and getting the balance out there. And they've been doing that in the last few games and picking up really, really good results. And that's where I get a little bit concerned. But to answer the question I asked, who do I want to win out of these two teams? Well, let me know in the comment section below. Who would you... We all want a draw, right? Because that's the thing we need to remember. If Arsenal draw, we're currently 6 points ahead of City. If Arsenal wins, and City draw, we can go 8 points ahead of them. If Liverpool draw, obviously that game as well, that's 7 points we've got ahead of them, becomes 9 points. That would be 8 and 9 points ahead of City and Liverpool at this stage of the season, would be huge. But if we drop points, it's a massive opportunity for one of them to close the gap. Now, still, there'd be a healthy-ish gap if we draw. And even with a defeat, you don't think, oh no, everything's kind of going wrong. But you start to think, oh, the fact that one of them you knew was guaranteed dropping points, but maybe both of them, it'd be a missed opportunity. So, anyway, I'm dancing around the question I asked. Who would I rather win? Well, let me show you these stats. 13 goals in 10 league games. And you can see the rest for yourself. Erling Haaland is on fire. And I don't want the team that has Erling Haaland to click fully, because he's putting those numbers in before they even fully click. That's my biggest fear. And it's the same way I felt about Salah last year. Now, Liverpool did click early, but I just think the team that has that best player in the league right now, and it is Erling Haaland, and that is City who has him, keep them as far away as possible. If I had to pick a winner, I'd rather Liverpool won it. And I know they're the champions, and Liverpool fans watching this, that's not me saying that I think City are better than you or that I take them more seriously than you. That's not what I'm saying. I just think, don't give Erling Haaland anything. Don't give City anything. Now, Salah might get back to those numbers, who knows? But I can only work on what I have right now. Obviously, I'd rather a draw. But let's see. Also, because if Liverpool win this, then City go, I don't know. City have to go to Anfield. Hey, I don't know. You can look at it in so many ways. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who would you rather wins the game between the two of them? And what are you thinking for Arsenal-Sunderland, or Arsenal's trip to Sunderland? Let me know your score predictions in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We'll be back with the player ratings on Sunday, a live player ratings and a little bit of analysis. That will be after the Sunderland game on Saturday night. So check that out here on the Goonerverse. All right, big thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon.